Hello and welcome back to another episode of Erinchian Wisdom. Today we'll be discussing a very relevant topic of what I call the epidemic of worthlessness and why antinatalism until we heal is the only answer. What I believe unites many of us, regardless of background these days, is the level of worthlessness we feel. The reasons vary from being in the 98% of world's population, the working class poor, to having no solid family or community around us to make us feel that someone cares enough about our well-being. A homeless person or a street dog has nothing to make them feel they're worth anything to anyone. In the old days, men who were considered unworthy to have a wife and kids, aka the incels of the back in the day, could join the military and feel a sense of worth through the false but effective indoctrination of martyrdom in times of war. And wars were ongoing, so back then men had a way of feeling useful and worthy. I don't believe that majority of women throughout history ever felt worthy, however, so our crisis of worthlessness is a smoother transition overall. But today, male or female, most humans, I believe, are increasingly at a loss for meaning and value in their existence. Jung talked about the lost soul of the modern human who suffers from inner deadliness, alienation, and futility, despite outward success, and attributed this to the rise of scientific materialism and the decline of spiritual or religious values once provided by myths and rituals that nourished the soul as they had in the old shamanic societies, for instance. The disenchanted cosmos, stripped of inherent meaning, neglects the soul, and in this society, people become increasingly more identified with their external personas, aka their ego identifications, and become cut off from their soul's desires and from their soul's desires that are kept unconscious. This sense of meaninglessness behind life as a mere mechanical grind manifests itself in a lack of energy, psychosomatic complaints, addictive behaviors, the failure to individuate, and in extreme cases, even suicide. This is a typical output, a byproduct of the society that is almost designed to neglect and starve our emotional needs and aggressively promotes materialistic values that do not fulfill or nurture our souls. And since the material realm is brutally disposable and conditional, much like our bodies that deprecate and depreciate over time, our sense of personal value and worth easily just wastes away. We do not value women for anything beyond their beauty and convenience in serving others, typically exclusively throughout their reproductive years, and we value men merely for their monetary success, which can be completely cut off from the actual value they produce. Capitalism and the way we structure society to isolate the nuclear family, rendering it too weak and inefficient to meet everyone's primary needs, have resulted in an excruciatingly pathological society. People are anxious, depressed, and volatile because the environment is toxic. Take a large economy, for instance, like Germany. Germany, who is known for the social security programs provided by its government. Are Germans who rely on these services to survive happy or well-adjusted? Do they feel good about themselves and worthy as a human being because their government is doing the bare minimums of what a parent would do for their child who needs help? No, they're just as depressed and miserable. The government is actually trying to step in to take the role of what the families would be doing, the missing family structure, which in no way is an equivalent substitute. So no, they're just as depressed and miserable. Those utterly insufficient services in no way replace the social value and support a loving community of individuals who care about your well-being can provide. The government programs exist as a means to prevent social upheaval and criminality that not meeting those most basic needs would cause, in a way that a stray dog who's starved and stressed can become more fearful and aggressive. I call them capitalist economies' shut-up ring to its citizens, the way some men with no interest in marrying a woman will give her to create the illusion of care and future commitment. Also, Germany, I think, is a good example because it seems that Germany always has some kind of ulterior motive for doing anything for anyone, as demonstrated in their zealous support of Israel that is not based on love or care for its people, but as a means of keeping an object of redemption and perhaps a kind of emotional comfort for their guilt-ridden conscience in aiding them in genocidal acts on another ethnicity. I don't know. You tell me, would you feel more loved by someone if they provided you with the tools and the moral justification to engage in horrendous crimes, or would you sense a sinister, self-serving, ulterior motive? Can one feel loved and worthy if the best interest of that person is not least bit considered? I believe it takes an average human being a long time and many years of painful experiences to get to a place of emotional maturity to adopt a sense of self-worth that is not dependent on other people's approval or expressions of love and care. Those formative years, especially in early childhood, were all dependent on others to develop a sense of self-worth. There's no way to develop self-worth in a household among people who have not had their share of those ingredients poured into them in their own upbringing in order to value themselves first. A parent cannot have for their child what they lack in themselves. Children and the dogs that rely on adult humans in order to survive and thrive are owed this level of maturity that will bring about a healthy generation and thus create a functional society. Currently, and throughout most human history, we have been going through the dark ages of human spiritual evolution, in my opinion. Killing, torture, rape, legitimized racism and sexism, nepotism, greed, totalitarianism, the theft of colonialism, and other organized crimes have been widely practiced all around the world. However, I believe the world is currently reaching a threshold point where we either self-destruct or evolve out of these things. And I believe it is our moral duty to withhold bringing new human souls into this world until these things become anomalies. Not in an arrogant moral perfectionist manner, but in the considerate manner that says, let's take the necessary quarantine measures while we haven't yet healed from, say, a highly contagious respiratory disease. Quarantine here is a mere analogy for not having kids. So in my opinion, what we need is the widespread adoption of this philosophical view called antinatalism that is critical of reproduction and considers coming into existence as it exists presently as immoral. Antinatalists thus argue that humans should abstain from having children. This could be seen as a moral duty in a world that has yet to heal from the aforementioned metaphorical diseases. If we assume the moral objective of creating a healthy generation of humans, we must consider the how and the know-how. Luckily, we do know that every being has certain needs in tune with their nature, such as dietary or social. A dog meets another dog by sniffing another dog's butt, while humans shake hands and talk to each other. A wolf must hunt and eat the fresh kill, while the human must cook many foods to digest it properly. A border collie bred to herd sheep must be able to run around outside in the open fields and not be kept indoors in a tiny apartment, while a small poodle may not need such. Children need environments that are happy and healthy so that they build the resilience and self-worth that will prepare them for life as adults. They need to grow up experiencing joy and play so their growth isn't stunted by living in constant fight or flight mode, living in emotionally and physically unpredictable and unsafe environments. They must have fathers that make them feel protected and confident, and mothers that nurture their body and soul. It is rare that a disease or a trauma isn't passed down from one generation to the next, because we all start off very impressionable and needy. Having adult responsibility means we recognize the full extent of our influence on the young and the impressionable. If a parent is too emotionally starved, stressed out, pressed, pushed to physical limits of exhaustion, he or she will not be a good parent, full stop. Currently, the vast majority of men are incapable of providing an environment for a potential mother to raise healthy children. Of course, this isn't entirely to be blamed on the men. Nonetheless, it is the current situation that needs to be acknowledged. But there's good news, and it is that women are slowly waking up to this fact, as painful as it is, and it reflects in the declining birth rates worldwide. We are opting out of many things that we once used to participate unconsciously, not knowing how dysfunctional they were. Most of our parents never considered if they were fit to be a parent, or if they had what it takes to provide more than just food and shelter. They were fully blind to their own psychological ailments they unwittingly smeared onto their children's psyches. But many of us know better now. We're opting out of many dysfunctional patterns as we are raised in consciousness. Another one of those is manifested in the job market today, and in people's dying dedication to wage slavery, to big corporations or individuals that do not care about their individual well-being. Many of us are choosing the physical struggle over saying yes to something that is torturous for the soul. Many women like myself who have healed in themselves their feminine energy no longer entertain any man or situation that feels oppressive and non-complementary or compatible with the needs of their healthy feminine side. I no longer think it's okay for a woman to want to have to work like a man as if she has the same muscle structure or hormonal cycle as a man. I no longer accept any treatment that wants to convince me that I'm less worthy. Because I can give this gift of self-worth to myself, I'm able to give it back to others when I'm with them. I can give my undivided attention to and bring joy to kids and dogs when I'm with them. I still choose to remain child-free, however, as I have decided that since I was a little kid, which doesn't mean I'm any less dedicated to providing such safe emotional spaces for the countless humans and dogs who need emotionally healed adult males or females. Lastly, I do see hope for humanity if birth rates do continue to decline, and I believe the next level, more conscious and evolved parenting becomes more prevalent. This will continue to get better. Until that day, I urge anyone to abstain from having kids until they have raised a kid in themselves, because otherwise their child will always be in competition with their own unmet needs of their own inner child. This is a heavy topic, but I think it was vital to discuss, so thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode. Bye!